What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Orange Bloods Live. Jeff Ketchum, Chad Hastings, going to be with you for, I don't know, however long we decide to go. There's a lot of Longhorn football recruiting stuff to get into before we get knee-deep into the weekend and commitments. And today, there's stuff going on today and tomorrow and Sunday. Technically, no matter when you watch this video, there's probably something happening today. Whatever day that is, we will be talking about it. Like, comment, subscribe to the page. We do appreciate when you do those things. Acts of positivity, pay it forward into the world. I promise I will, if there's like a wet area of sidewalk this weekend and I see a damsel in distress, I will throw something down. Let my pants be the thing that someone tramples to make sure that their feet don't get wet. Whatever it takes to get that thumbs up button. We do appreciate it. Jump in to the Specs chat. Chat it up. We'll take some super chats. Who knows? We'll get a little freaky with it today. Yes, Chris Bennett. We're not doing that, though. No. Take it down, Chad. We're not starting with the minority, loud minority percentage of Texas fans who are like, oh, woe is me, recruiting. What are we going to do? Stop. We're going to talk about some guys that probably won't pick Texas today or tomorrow or maybe even Sunday. But, like, this isn't our first rodeo. We've done this show before. I think we've talked openly about this is a coaching staff and inside the UT kind of locker rooms, the people that do this stuff, whether they get commits or not, they're just not that amped up about it in the summer for a million different reasons, the least of which aren't NIL related. And, it's like I want to make sure that everybody pays attention to the most important things, but then doesn't lose sight of ultimately what we learned last November and December, is that what really matters is what happens in those final couple of weeks of the recruiting process. It's what changed everything for Cade Phillips, who was the DB that Texas wanted over every other DB. And it's what changed with Justice Terry. They signed the number one recruiting class in the country. Really, the only big piece they didn't swing that they were swinging for was Michael Fasusi last year. They just couldn't overcome the advantages that Oklahoma had in that recruitment, the least of which wasn't he just wanted to be at OU more. But all things considered, I think you're looking at a Texas coaching staff that has got their minds on vacation in the next few weeks more than they have like these commitments are going to be the things that define just how happy they are.
Yeah, and as you always say, two things can be true at the same time. The immediate stuff may not sound terrific, but then for the people that are going to jump in the chat and say fire Sark and 5 and 7, they're obviously just flipping out. So let's start with Chase Calicut, because we'll go through a list of names. I think Calicut is the one to start with. We've mentioned him before, kid out of North Shore. And at one point, the thought was it very well could be Texas. But as we sit here on this Friday doing the show, I feel like it's not Texas. What's your gut tell you right now?
I got to be honest on this one. It feels a little bit like Deshaun Jackson at the 2-yard line.
Ball security is not the most important thing.
I cannot believe that really we're here on the day that he's going to make his announcement and it's not going to be Texas. It really is. And look, nobody is tripping over this. Now, I think that there's probably a lot of reasons why. Part of it is like, oh my God, it's another North Shore kid. What do you know? Texas just not having their luck with another North Shore kid. I mean,
maybe we need to do a whole show on that. Do we need to do an entire show on the psychology of like Texas and North Shore High School and what needs to happen there?
I mean, we could. I just think that the interesting thing is the very last guy that came to Texas from North Shore is the guy that probably had the most problematic relationship and left under the most least flattering of terms, if you will. And so it's interesting because and the guy wasn't so long ago. I mean, this was under Sarkisian.
And who is that, by the way?
Oh my God, the defensive end. The guy in 2021 that got into it with Sark, yelled at him. They got into a little bit of a screaming match.
Oh.
He ended up in the portal, and then it took forever for him to find a team. And I don't think he's actually playing college football right now. I'm not sure. You're going to make me look it up.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to.
Well, I brought it up, but like, it's one of those things. Like, I tell people this all the time. There was something that happened at UT last year in October that was just batshit crazy.
Is it this dude?
It was Christopher Ross.
I was just about to say Christopher Ross, and then
Thank
I thought,
you.
well, it can't be him.
No, it's Christopher Ross. I just
okay, Ross is the guy.
Chris with a K. Just needed to have it jogged for my memory. But like, he left under less than flattering circumstances.
Thank you, Money Beat.
That was with Texas already having a weird relationship with North Shore. I don't know. Look, the thing is, Texas and Georgia both go into this season with the same number of super blue chips in the secondary. It's not like when we look at these two programs that one does better than the other. It's a big loss because I think he's a big talent. Like, he's exactly the kind of talent that I tell you that you should care about this guy. He's that good. But Texas has a bunch of those guys, and they'll probably get more. It's just the secondary is just not a place that you really should ever think that Texas should have any problems with. Kind of wide receiver as well, between the portal and the state of Texas to be able to recruit the wide receiver position from. And it just always feels like they'll have super blue chips at those positions. But it does look like Calcutt's going to choose Georgia today. And that's happened late. But I don't think it's a recruitment that Texas could get back into if they didn't want to. The one thing I keep having pointed out to me by people that I talk to behind the scenes is that, and I've had the person specifically mention Fasusi as a good example of this last year. They don't know, and the thing that's different about this year is you're throwing in the revenue sharing money and like a salary cap of sorts. So what you know, and one of the things that Anwar had in the war room last night was, because I had this question for him a week ago. Who's the capologist? Right? Like, who's the person that knows if there's a pool of money that X amount of dollars should be reserved for this position? How do NFL teams? I don't know any of this stuff. And every team's a little different. We know the New England Patriots not spending a big piece of their running of their salary cap on the running back position. The Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you know.
It just depends.
Who knows? Who knows?
We make it up as we go.
Yeah.
So I had that question, and then Anwar had reported on that very topic in today's war room, and it was like, hey, Brandon Harris is doing that. I said, Jesus Christ, man, Brandon Harris is the most talented person in college football.
Brandon Harris is doing it. Anwar also mentioned someone else on the staff that is helping with that.
Yes.
Right? A guy that, I guess, kind of under Brandon Harris is
Yeah,
helping out with that. But yeah.
Look, we'll probably never get allowed into how the sausage is made, but that fascinates me because all of this is so new, right? So one of the things I had a source point out to me a week ago, and I really didn't repeat myself this week. Like, I didn't put in a war room section. I didn't do this all over again. It really would have been, you could just read the war room from a week ago. They don't know in June of 2025 what their real needs are going to look like in December of 2025. And it sounds like such a short amount of time that, well, they probably do. Well, probably is not the same thing as knowing. They thought they knew last August that, you know, we're spending like a bunch of money on Brandon Baker not to play this year, but we'll have one tackle coming back next year in Cam Williams, and then we'll be able to play Trevor Gooseby. And so we're not desperate. And they're like, I don't know about having Brandon. Like, if that happens, does that mean Brandon Baker's getting over $1 million to sit on the pine for 2 years? There were real questions about what are we going to do with money that we're spending? Have we spent wisely? And then by the time they got to October, it was like, oh, Cam Williams is going to go pro. We actually have more of a tackle need. And maybe at worst, 2026, we're going to need some people coming through the door. Suddenly, Michael Fasusi felt like more of a priority. And they went after Fasusi in terms of NIL with a much stronger push than they did when he made his decision during the summer. These are things that will happen. But they won't know really until much later than today. I don't know when the exact date is, but they'll get to a point where they're like, okay, we knew that the offensive line was a major priority. Have we done everything that we need to do? Do we need to do more? Have we invested enough money? Are we spending too much money here? I think they've got to kind of let the dust settle a little bit and say, okay, here's who we've come away with commits from. And I think Wesley's a perfect example of this, Chad. How on earth a month ago could you have been working on the budget for 2026 and been like, well, we got to save a few million for Richard Wesley? That would have sounded preposterous.
Yeah, just put a little aside, just in case. Just
Hey,
in case the number
whatever
one
we
edge
do,
guy.
we can't spend the Richard Wesley money. And it would
Number
be
one,
like,
yeah, the number one edge guy might like us. Let's just put the money aside.
it's like, has he, is he visiting? What's going on there? And it's like, oh, well, hey, we also have to save some money for Atkinson because, he's going to train with Derek Johnson in Austin for a month. And who knows, we might be able to take him from Georgia. There are these elements that in June you just can't know. And Texas is watching everything that plays out. And I just think they feel like, look, if we need to go get Chase Calicut late, like if we have to, if we watch him as a senior and it's that guy's Ed Reed, we cannot let him go, then we'll go get him. I think that's the way they genuinely feel. I also feel like when a kid doesn't commit to Texas in June, there's a part of them, I say this all the time, where they think, cool, because now they get to pursue aggressively and they don't get put in defensive mode, which they just don't like. So it's funny, man, because when you actually are able to get a coach on the phone at this time of the year where they're just trying to enjoy some time and you're like, hey, man, what do you think about this Chase? Like their brains are just like, whatever. It's the closest thing that you'll get to like senior skip day where it's just they're so close to some time off and they've worked so hard and so many days and deep down they feel like, and this stuff doesn't even really matter. We haven't even gotten to August yet. So yeah, I think Calicut commits to Georgia. I don't think, while I think he's the kind of guy you do care about, I don't get the sense that anybody's really panicking. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they got a bunch of DBs on campus. I mean, my God, if you look at the scholarship board right now and we just look at super blue chip players on the Texas roster that in the secondary that can't even get on the field right now, there's like a decent number of those guys. You're talking about, well, for one, we're wondering whether or not, I'm sorry, Chad, something just popped up in my head. Just give me a second. You got to do that thing where sometimes something distracts you and then you pretend like it's not distracting you. And then you got to put it away.
Right.
Derek Williams, we're waiting to see if he comes back. But you've got Xavier Phil-Sammy. You've got Jonah Williams. You've got Kobe Black isn't definitely on the field. We think he's going to play a lot, but we think he's making progress. You've got Cade Phillips. Like those are all guys that might play this year. I mean, we think Derek Williams is, right? But coming off of a major injury, I kind of look at him the way that I do CJ Baxter. It's a little bit of he's found money, but we don't know what Xavier Phil-Sammy is going to do. We're not completely sure what Kobe Black's role is going to be. Is Cade Phillips going to play this year? How much is Jonah Williams going to play? So there's already a lot back there. You add Chase Calicut, you're making the position better. You are doing the goal of adding big-time recruits, but they're not in a place of desperation at safety. There are other positions that we will go to literally in this conversation and I think Xavier Griffin, when we get to that decision on Sunday, we know linebacker, as good as they are right now, that's kind of a position that's different than the other positions on campus where the depth and numbers almost across the board at Texas has Texas has as many scholarship quarterbacks, Chad, at sophomore, freshman, and redshirt freshman. Arch Manning, sophomore, redshirt sophomore, but sophomore nonetheless. Trey Owens, KJ Lacey, 3, right? That is the same number of sophomores, redshirt freshmen, and true freshman linebackers that they have.
Wow.
They have the same number of And that's not like one cycle. That's essentially 3 recruiting classes together. That's a group of 23 sophomores, 11 redshirt freshmen, 26 true freshmen. That is a pool of 60 players. That's the lion's share of the Texas football program. They got the same number of quarterbacks as linebackers. You play more linebackers at one time than you do quarterbacks.
Usually.
Unless
you're what offense you run, but yes.
Unless you're Will Muschamp and it's the first play of the season or the second play of the season, at which point you just run quarterbacks on the field to confuse everybody, including your own team. So, but we'll talk about Damari Simeon here in a second, or we'll talk about Malachi Lee. All these guys are at different positions. I think there are different levels of weight and importance based on what I think Texas needs in this class. And I just think that when we talk about Calicut, who's probably the most gifted of these guys, certainly in the conversation, he just happens to be at a position you're just not worried about the secondary at all if you're Texas, not like you are some others.
We are recording the show, of course, on a Friday. So if you're watching us on Saturday, it's already happened with Calicut. He makes the decision on Friday. I see that super chat, JS Hookem. We will get to that. Excuse me. If you want to get a super chat in, it will go right to the top of the list. Real quick chat, though, from our man James says, I got a delivery in Driftwood, Chad. You already know where I'm stopping for lunch. I do know where you're stopping for lunch. You're stopping for this. Well, maybe not this exactly, but you're stopping for Hayes City Store, and I would certainly advise the chicken fried steak or the enchiladas. Yes, this is the enchilada picture that got the discussion started with Ketch. No, those are not beans poured over the enchiladas. They are fantastic.
Those look like beans.
The chicken fried steak is top notch. So is the chicken fried pork chop. So are the other 2 pork chops. Burgers, pizza, the sandwiches. It's all incredible. The wings are great. My wife loves their wings. Hayes City Store out in Driftwood. James going to go see them today. Make your plans to go see them very, very soon. That picture always makes me just a little bit hungry.
I'm so confused.
Why's that?
Put the picture back up.
Yes, we really do need to get you fully educated on.
Those are beans.
That is not true. They're beans in the back. In the back of it, yeah, there's rice and beans on the side. That's not beans on top, Ketch.
How can you tell?
Because it's enchiladas. Nobody in their right mind pours beans over enchiladas.
That looks like a heap of beans.
That's a beefy, cheesy sauce.
You're gonna tell me that tastes like meat?
It's fantastic. Tastes like heaven's what it tastes like.
It does not. Look, I want that chicken fried steak so bad.
Dude, it's so good. You know that. You've had that one.
I'm just telling you. I don't know how to get over. You can take it down now. I don't know how to get over visually what that does to me.
Yeah, I do.
I know what you're telling me it tastes like.
I know exactly how to get over it. Take a fork, put it into the item that you have an issue with, and then eat it. That'll get rid of it. I promise.
It just seems like a lot.
Oh my God. All right. We did have a quick super chat here before we get a little more in on these recruiting commitments. JS Hookem, $9.99. I'm late. Congrats to OB on y'all's transition. Ketch is like Sark. He wants to keep his coaches and do what he has to do to keep them, and his coaches see his vision. Attaboy, Sarch. Oh, you got a new nickname, Ketch. You're now Sarch.
No, I'm not. That is not for sale for $9.99. It's for JS Hookem gets to say it.
Sarch. Okay, JS Hookem calls you a Sarch, gives you a Hookem emoji, even threw in a little thumbs up for me. How about that? That's a little
too close to Shart.
It's Sarch. It's hard to say it. Like if I tried to say that consistently, I'd screw it up.
Like that's not what you want. What does that sound like? It sounds like you shit your pants. Oh. Sarge.
Yeah, that's what they call me. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. JS Hookem, thank you so much for that. Ketch, I want you to
I will not thank him for that. That is the seed is somebody's gonna call me that now.
Not for the name, the money. Thanks for the money. Thanks for the super chat. I want you to tell me if this next one is sour grapes or breaking news. This is run them down. North Shore produces busts. Sark can bypass North Shore in Houston and just recruit Shadow Creek, Atascocita, and others. Breaking news?
I mean, North Shore has a lot of busts.
Okay.
They do. I think It should have. It does not produce for what they turn out from a high-level recruit standpoint. They don't produce enough good players. It's true. I'm not saying that you ignore North Shore. I'm saying that if you take Corey Redding out of the North Shore equation, it ain't Austin Westlake. I can tell you that.
Interesting. Okay. So that could be part of, let's say Calicut does pick Georgia. That's part of how you'd soften it to a Texas fan. You would also bring the North Shore part of it in.
No, I wouldn't personally do that.
Okay.
But I'm not ignoring the fact that North Shore has a lot of busts on its resume. And I don't know why. It's not something I typically spend a lot of time thinking about. The curse, what's going on at North Shore. I mean, it's an incredible football program. It's interesting. Their players have, I think Katy High School has historically got hit with we don't recruit their high school because their players they're viewed as one of those programs that their players are closer to being maxed out than they are otherwise. So you see a lot of Katie's players like, oh, well, they're as good as they're ever going to be. Like they've been in a weight program. I think Duncanville's players, I think there's more of that going on. And I think for whatever reason, we just don't look at that program in high schools. I think with that ethnicity breakdown, I don't know. It seems like it's more of a thing with schools that have more white players. I mean, to get into like the racial component of it, but I've never heard anybody say, don't go to Duncanville because their players don't ever get better when they go to college, right? But you think about North Shore, and it happens a lot. I mean, honestly, if you get past Corey Redding, it's hard to name. Trey Hopkins had a pretty decent career at Texas, but beyond Hopkins in the last 25 years, it's not like, oh man, they missed out on that guy. That by missing out on that, even a guy like Zach Evans at running back, it was like, oh, well, they went out and got, Bijan Robinson. It's weird. It's weird. And honestly, as big of a bust as Zach Evans was, he's probably one of the bigger hits that they've had come through that high school in recent years. Isn't that crazy? Because I think most people wouldn't think of it like that.
That is. Evans that's the running back that ended up at TCU?
Yes, and then was that Ole Miss.
Right. Yeah. He had a path. All right. If you guys want to shoot us a super chat, we will get to it.
But hold on. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay.
Okay.
So let me go through the biggest North Shore hits in the last 10 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Devin Sanchez just signed with Ohio State. Too early to call, right?
Yeah.
The only other 5 stars that came out of North Shore were Zach Evans, the running back, which he just didn't live up to the hype. He wasn't a bad prospect. He's in the NFL, but he was a 5-star running back. He was supposed to be spectacular. And then the only other 5-star, Denver Harris.
Wow.
Chad's familiar.
I've heard that name. Yes.
Now look, this is the next tier down. So those were your 5 stars. These are the only other super blue chips in North Shore history, okay? Robbie Reed, which unfortunately is kind of an infamous player, but not because he was such a badass that he deserves to be remembered, because he wasn't ever that good. Shockey Brown, pretty good player at Texas, played in the NFL, but not a monster. DeLeon Farr. You don't even know who that is, do you?
Don't recognize the name.
He is another of the tight ends in the Martellus Bennett class.
So
there were like 3 tight ends that year from the state of Texas that were badasses. Not all of them turned out to be Marty B.
This just in.
So if we go below that, now, mind you, this is going back to 2002. I haven't said anybody yet that you're like, oh my God, that's why you go to North Shore, right?
Right.
So here's the next tier. I mentioned Trey Hopkins. Eric Monroe was a kid in the 2016 class that never did anything. DeAndrew White was a wide receiver in the 2010 class that went to Alabama. He played in the NFL, but I don't think he was drafted. And then Zach Whitley was a linebacker in 2014 that went to UCLA. Here's the big miss. In 2017, K'Lavon Chason went to LSU. But that's the one. That is of the top, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Of the top 12 prospects in the history of the Rivals recruiting rankings. There's like one guy that was a first-round draft pick out of North Shore, K'Lavon Chason. And then the only other like smattering of guys that hit were guys like Shockey Brown or a guy like Trey Hopkins, who's pretty good players, but not so good that they were drafted or drafted highly, but not so bad that they didn't play in the NFL. But that's about as good as it's got. And honestly, the funny thing is, outside of Chason, they did hit with Shockey Brown and Trey Hopkins. I mean, that is a few hits. It's not like if you looked at the Texas A&M resume with North Shore players or Ohio State or anybody else that you would go, oh, that's the school that does really well with North Shore players. It's an odd thing, Chad. I don't know how to explain it other than to say, and the further we go down, the names turn into Demetrius Davis and Cedric Flowers and Charles Ross and Shaudrick Banks, who didn't pan out, and Corey Flagg Jr. and Barrett Matthews and Thaddeus Randall and Damian George, decent player, but didn't make it at Alabama. Javion Anderson, Jaden Roberts, Christopher Ross. Dude, I'm just saying. I wasn't going to make the case that if you don't get a North Shore guy, it'll be okay. But now I might make it, Chad. You've convinced me.
Hey, that chat, that's about as much as we've ever gotten, I think, out of a regular chat. Thank you very much for sending that one in. That was fantastic.
Took me down the rabbit hole that I organically decided to jump through.
It really did. All right, so we have some other names we want to hit for guys that are committing either today or over the weekend that are Texas targets. Mike, I see your super chat. But it is off. We're not going to talk about these two. Let's get it in quick, though, since were nice enough to throw $4.99 at us. Love the show, guys. Hope your day is going well. Are you concerned about the 26 running back and wide receiver recruiting? We're not going to hit either one of those positions specifically today, Catch, but in general, running back, wide receiver. No worries?
Not really. I don't think they're putting a huge emphasis on running back in that they got 6 guys on the roster, and they bring them all back next year on paper. It's possible that C.J. Baxter could go pro, I suppose, but that feels like a massive leap. So at wide receiver, they're pretty loaded. Plus, they just went and got the Mosley kid in the portal, which, it's not so much about like he's a replacement in the next year's recruiting class, but he's another young player on top of you just got a stack of young guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if late we see them make a run at one of those positions and try to go get a big fish. But they don't need volume. I don't think they feel like they're desperate at all. And I think that what you may just see is if they don't go big on those positions this year, and they did it wide receiver a year ago, you're probably not going to see year after year after year every position get an unlimited amount of money to go get the best guys in the country. There's just fiscal sense that has to come into play. And I think that we may be seeing a little bit there. Because I'll just give you an example. I don't think they've made a big NIL push with Jalen Lott. And they may not. I don't say that as, well, when that kid commits to USC, Texas will come in late. They could. The money that's being talked about with Lott is accurate. $650-ish. Texas, that's Brandon Baker money. They can do that. They haven't decided to do that yet. And I think that these are decisions that if they were stressed about it, I don't think I would have said that and it would have been a true statement. I just don't think they're there yet. So I would say relax. No need to be concerned.
Mike, thank you for the super chat. If y'all want to throw in a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. Michael, we see you in the line at Disney World. We will get to you coming up. Real quick, let's get Specs in here. 4th of July is next week. Beat the rush and get stocked up at Specs.
Kick off summer with Specs Made in America sale. We've got star-spangled savings on all your American-made favorites. All month long at Specs. Cheers to savings.
And put popsicles in all your drinks. Good idea. It's a solid plan.
Chad, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is going to determine, I think, how close we are.
Okay.
Let's say the ad guys over at Specs reached out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey, this is kind of random and strange, but Lisa loves what you guys do on the show, and she's a big fan,
mm-hmm.
and she's invited you to her, families, you and your family, over for July 4th to a barbecue. And then you're like, awesome. Did Ketch get an invite? And it was like, no, there's only room for one of you and your families, and they've decided to pick you. What are you doing?
I would definitely try to get him to take you. I mean, I would not be there. There's no way I'm going without you. Couldn't do it. I couldn't.
I would go. I would complain while I was there about how such an injustice on the 4th of July has occurred, but I'd watch the fireworks.
Right. You should go. This is two different discussions. You should go and never think about me twice, but
No.
I should not do the same thing.
I'm telling you that I wouldn't be hurt.
Yeah,
you would. One of us has got to do it.
Dude, I didn't wear a rabbit costume for Halloween in honor of Specs. You did that.
My kids still joke about that because it freaked our dogs out so badly that they still laugh at what it did. I was like, you think it's funny the nightmares we induced on our 4-legged animals. Got it. Nice kids I've got there.
It is so messed up. So messed up. By the way,
Harper beat the floor. I was like, that's not, we shouldn't celebrate that. That wasn't the effect I was going for. Watch this. I'm going to scare my German Shepherd so bad it pees the floor. That's not what I was going for.
You didn't just scare him. You scared him that much. That's a whole nother level. Michael, shout out to you. Standing in a long line at Disney World and says your thumbnails for these videos are killing me, Ketch. Michael is enjoying the Jeff Ketchum photo shoot that took place to help us with the thumbnails. Michael, we hope Disney World is treating you well. Hope the lines are not too long. Matthew, I see your super chat. Before we get there, though, Ketch, Malachi Lee, is that the next name you want to hit?
Yeah, I think, man, Texas fans, this would be a guy that I would say, watch this one late. Kid out of Hawaii. He fits the Kyle Flood profile perfectly, 6'7", 310.
Yeah.
The last couple of months, man, Texas fans were really convincing themselves that this was going to be a guy that was in the class. Because I've had a bunch of people been like, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, that we're going to get them all. And I'm like, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk this week. Hayes Fawcett, the edit guy, mentioned that Michigan's got 4 commitments ready to announce this week or going into this weekend. Michigan is the betting favorite with Lee. Texas is probably second. Bama and Georgia kind of bringing up the rear. But it does look, as we sit here today, that it's likely to be Michigan today. I don't think that's a guy that Texas is going to give up on. So I would eat more so than the Kemper kid that we would have talked about that just recently committed to A&M. I think not all of these guys and offers are viewed exactly the same. So I would say whatever happens today, Texas won't give up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to later in the process and Texas has tried to make a run with this kid again. He's definitely a guy they like.
And by the way, Hawaii through and through. He's in Honolulu, and the school is Kamehameha. That's fantastic. So if he doesn't pick Texas today, he's also a today decision, I believe. If he doesn't pick Texas, it's Michigan.
Looks like it.
Probably, yeah.
Looks like it.
Another super chat that just came in. We certainly appreciate that. Let's clean off this one. As long as we're talking O-line, that's the reason I wanted to get to it first, Matthew, and then we get to your super chat of $4.99. Out of Ojo, Turntine, Henderson, Griffin, Atkinson, Finley, and Gervil, I set the over-under at 3.5. What side do you bet? So that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. That's 7. Okay. So you're saying 4 out of those 7 or more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in December, not in the summer.
Not now. Not
like
now.
I think Finley. Look, I had someone tell me this week, reached out to me specifically to say, yo, I played golf with Jermichael Finley recently. And maybe Jermichael was just talk, maybe it wasn't. But it was kind of like he conveyed that it would be over his dead body before his boy didn't play at Texas. And I was like, oh, okay, mental note filed away. And that just feels like one, Sark and this group, they're not going to go too crazy for wide receivers at this point. They're not talking money. I don't think they've made they don't make their final pitches late. So I think that I think for me, Finley falls under a guy. I'm still going to say signs with Texas in December. And then I think they're going to get Ojo, Turntine, and Gorville. And then, Atkinson, I think is a real possibility. But again, that one won't, no matter what happens in the summer, really, that is one that I think gets determined late. But yeah, I'll go above on the 3.5 there. Matthew, if we want to save that for the next 7 months, we can eventually get to it on signing day.
There you go. Matthew, thank you for that. Also, speaking of Tyler Atkinson, somebody sent a chat earlier that I'm going to save till we talk about Xavier Griffin. So, Blake, I see it. We're going to get to it, I promise. There was another super chat that came in, though, and it's from Fan Club President. A little CC6, $5. Do you think recruits intentionally commit to a different school in order to get a higher offer from the school they really want? Seems plausible. But silly talk. That's insanity. There's no way.
Of course. The thing that I can't stress enough is that the difference between 2025 and 2021 is that when this thing first started, when NIL passed and guys were signing, and we were signing guys to deals, I really wasn't dealing with agents. DeMarvion Overshone had an agent, so I dealt with them. But I would talk with Jake Majors, or I would talk with Xavier Worthy. I'm talking to his mom. I'm talking to all of these players, Ovio Gofu. All these guys. Keandre Coburn. None of them had agents. They were all out working their own deals. 4 years later, they all have agents. All of them. And so, do you think it's plausible that an agent would say, hey, man, FYI, the best way for us to maximize your earning power and potential is to do this? And it doesn't matter whether or not that's what you want to do. My job is to tell you how to maximize the most amount of money you could possibly get, right? That's what you've hired me to do? Yes, there will be agents, of which every player has one now, who will give this advice, and some guys will take it for certain. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that super chat. We appreciate it. That cleans us up on super chats for now. If you want to jump in, please feel free to do it. We're talking about the commitments that are coming today. We've already talked about Chase Calicut. We've talked about Malachi Lee. There's another one to talk about today, and we've got more coming for the weekend. Before we do that, let's thank one of our great partners, and that will be AV Consultations. Sit back, think about summer, and choose your music. Ketch and I think, are going to side with the father on this one. Y'all decide for yourself.
Hey, y'all, I'm Camille McKay.
And I'm Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
The old man and I are here to give you your summer weather forecast. It's hot.
That's right, kid.
Which means it's time for pool parties, grilling burgers, and taking a beach vacation, right?
Well, I don't know about a vacation, but audiovisual brings more heat than any tropical destination.
It was worth a shot. I'll settle for some outdoor speakers.
You know, audiovisual can do a lot more than that. We provide outdoor video screens, audio systems, landscape lighting, even solar shades for your patio to keep the Texas heat at bay.
Well, I'm sold. Let's wrap this up. I'm ready to lounge on a floaty and listen to some smooth jazz.
Well, that sounds wonderful, but some smooth reggae is the way to go this summer.
Good thing we can listen to both with the Sonos sound system. I call dibs on the floaty, though. Peace out.
Kid, wait a second. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. That's 512-255-8678.
All right, Catch, two things. Number one, I continue to be on your side of things. What wacky ass Gen Z youngster wants to listen to smooth jazz while they're floating on something? The heck is going on?
I brought this up the other day.
Like, yeah, I agree with you. Of those two things, I think Tom is right. Like, I'm not necessarily going to immediately go to reggae if I'm out floating on a floaty or whatever, but I'm certainly not going to bust out some smooth jazz. That does not make
Kenny
sense.
G on Lake Travis?
Yeah, that does not
it's
make
not,
sense.
actually.
That does not make sense. By the way, Catch, I also got messaging from Tom to verify your theory. I just checked in with him. I said, hey, what's we enjoyed the writing. We enjoyed the spots. Like, is that Camilla's effect or what? And he just typed back, like, I say whatever she tells me to. And we were like, well, that's kind of what we thought. So there you go. It's a Camilla McKay production. We did get that verified.
It's that simple.
It is that simple. All right.
Did I tell you about the time that I saw Kenny G in concert?
I'm not sure if I've heard your Kenny G story. That's a concert I have not added to my list.
Okay. He opened up for Whitney Houston.
Oh, well, now I know why you were there. Continue.
Yes. And it was literally at the moment when his big song in the 80s came out.
Right.
Remember? Right?
Yeah, right.
This dude walked around the Irwin Center playing his little flute. And that's like what he did. Like I watched him perform that song live, but like his whole thing was like, I'm walking up the Irwin Center like steps in the crowd, and I'm playing my little hit jazz song, and like, hey,
and he did the thing where he like held the note for 30 seconds and stuff like that, right?
But he did it walking around.
Yeah.
It was like watching Kenny Rogers sing Lady, but different.
While you're ordering a drink. Hey, look, Kenny's right there.
That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I have not seen Kenny G live.
You didn't miss anything.
I know, but you have the perfect reason to see him. When you say Whitney Houston, like that's like, okay, well, I'm good. Like there are acts I've seen that they would be the same thing. Like, Chad, why did you see? And it's like, well, then like I saw Mr. Mister. It's like, oh, why? Well, Tina Turner was next. Oh, okay, sure.
I went to go see Whitney, and along the way, I got to see the man play the flute while walking through the Irwin Center crowd. It was an amazing memory.
A flute. Come on. That's a saxophone, Cat. It's not a flute. Come on, man. Give the man some credit, would you? Please.
It's a woodwind, right? Like it's or whatever.
Oh, it's a woodwind. Yeah, it's a woodwind. It's a different kind. They have that. He was the master of that straight saxophone. What's that?
Oh, you're right. I thought it was a straight flute.
There's an alto sax and there's a soprano sax, and he's one of the two. I can't remember which is which.
Sure, he doesn't play a flute.
No, it's not a flute. That's not a flute. The straight saxophone. It's whichever one it is. Saxophone experts, tell me which one's which.
According to Google's AI overview,
yes,
Kenny G plays the flute.
Not as his primary instrument.
That's not primarily known for his saxophone playing.
There it is.
He's also played the flute professionally and has even featured it on his albums. The man's a flute player. Let the man blow the flute.
Will you please? How am I defending Kenny G today? What is going on? You're forcing me to defend Kenny G. That's sad. That is sad. Okay. Third guy today, Catch, that's going to make a commitment. Out-of-state guy, Damari Simeon, out of the state of New Jersey. Looks like Texas and a big old pack of Big Ten dogs trying to get him. What do we need to know about this dude?
He's probably not going to commit to Texas. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, I see him listed as the number 12 D tackle in the country.
Again, he's very good. I think Texas the rest of the way wants to go a little more deep sea fishing. If I'm being completely honest with this guy's physical profile, 6'3", 275, it's not really what Texas loves at their defensive tackle position. And, they've kind of got a guy like that physical profile wise. So I don't know that they need another one. So I don't know if it's me, like I said, I wouldn't stress out too much over that one. Not every guy that Texas recruits is a guy that they're going to get. I don't think he's a guy that Texas needs to really concern themselves with. And again, if you look at just the defensive tackle class as a whole, there's a little bit of Dylan Berryman to him that it's like not the biggest guy in the world. So typically Texas likes their defensive tackles to be massive guys. It says a lot that he's a little bit of a tweener defensive tackle and that they've even given him the time of day. It just tells you don't even need to watch the film to go, wait, he's 6'3", 275, and he's a D tackle. Like, you can imagine what he looks like. Those guys are a little bit like the tweeners at edge. When they hit, you're like, oh, that guy was Tommy Harris. And it's like, yeah, well, how many other Tommy Harrises have you seen in the last quarter century? And it was like, not a lot. You're talking 285, 290-pound guys soaking wet that can't be blocked and dominate. Yeah, those guys don't grow on trees. So not that guy's limited to be that big his entire life, but I think he's a little bit of an undersized guy. I think Texas will feel like they've got bigger fish to get.
All right. No super chats right now. Real quick. Thank you, Matthew. Kenny G primarily played the soprano sax. So the straight saxophone is the soprano.
You don't know that I didn't see him play a flute that night because I feel like I saw him play it sideways.
I'm certain. I do not doubt that Kenny G can play the flute. I thought you were insulting his main instrument by calling it a flute.
No, I feel like I saw him play the flute that night.
He may have very well done. I'm sure. Look, any instrument like that, I'm sure Kenny G can play all of them. So Matthew, that would mean like Clarence Clemens and Bobby Keys with the Stones and stuff. That is an alto sax, if I'm not mistaken. So a little saxophone education for everybody today. All right.
Now, Chad, the Xavier Griffin, I know there was a Xavier Atkinson question.
Tyler Atkinson.
I'm sorry. What did I say? Xavier? I got too many goddamn.
You just combined the two linebackers.
I did.
That's all right.
Made him a super backer. Thank you. Yes, Tyler Atkinson. There was a question about him. I think the Xavier Griffin one is a real interesting situation because when that kid visited Texas, there was like, oh, he's a Longhorn. That kid's going to announce to Texas. But it seems like one of the things that might be going on here. And Jason wrote about it in the War Room. Now, this is a guy that was committed to USC. We know that USC's throwing around money. They've been quite brazen about it. Georgia's there. So we know that it's going to take a big NIL deal. And this kid's looking at schools that don't shop at Ross, right? My wife would cringe if she, what do you mean? What, don't shop at Ross? Ross is I'm the boss at Ross. You don't know how many times. If I had $1 for every time that woman told me that she was the boss at Ross, I could have a good 4th of July with the fireworks. But we know that Texas is kind of gaga for Tyler Atkinson. We know that they probably haven't made their super pitch for Atkinson yet. Who knows? Maybe they did last week, but there's only so much money to go around. And I think it will be interesting to see the dynamics of a Griffin decision, knowing that there really are elements of this. If you were Texas and you had a linebacker budget and you really feel like Tyler Atkinson is doable, But to get Xavier Griffin, you have to commit X amount of dollars, and it might not leave you with the money that you've get. What do you do?
Yeah.
And I think the reason why his recruitment is so interesting to me is we're legitimately talking about a guy that I think is a perfect test case in this new era of when and how do you make decisions on players and positions based on who you have, how much money you have, what does next year's recruiting look like? There are just elements to this that when we talk about kids' recruitments, I think him more than anybody else, you look at and just go, well, I have about 10 questions. It's not as easy as, is Texas going to get this guy? It feels like you've got to ask these subset of questions to get a real feel for, well, can they get the guy right now based on what we think he'll be looking for?
Yeah.
And
And
remains to be seen.
to lay the numbers out, he's number eight linebacker in the country, according to Rivals, and Tyler Atkinson would be number 1, according to Rivals, bringing up the question that Ketch is mentioning here. All right, Ketch, to this Tyler Atkinson question, someone asked it in a regular chat, and then God love Jason, he made it a super chat. So let's go with the $9.99 as the normal chat has ceded their time to Jason. Thank you, Jason, for the $9.99. Ketch, what are your thoughts on Atkinson signing an Adidas deal? I don't think his top schools are Adidas schools. Ketch, does something like that in an NIL world matter?
It's much more of a deal in basketball.
Okay.
But not so much in like Georgia's not an Adidas school. So, I mean, Texas isn't an Adidas school. I think that, again, it's usually those things can be, and Georgia's a Nike school. So, I think that, no, I can tell you that doesn't, I don't think move the, now look, man, if something happens and I'm wrong on that, I'll take my comeuppance for being dismissive of that. But in football, those things are harder to align. And, I don't think the expectations are that that's driving the recruitment, but you never know. Like it's a brand new world. And at some point there probably will be a test case example of, remember that guy was an Adidas guy. All the Nike schools thought they were going to get him. He ended up going to an Adidas school. That will happen at some point without question. I just don't think that this is the recruitment where that happens. And I would say this, if Texas knew that, then they wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now. If it was as simple as this kid's not going to a Nike school because he signed a big Adidas school, Texas wouldn't have wasted their time, because that is exactly the type of poison pill that if a school knows that out in the open early on, whoa, wait a minute. He's not going to a Nike school. That's what his agent says. Like, what do you mean he's not? Like, he's not going to take any visits? I don't know, coach. What I've been told is don't waste your time if you're a Nike school. Don't waste my time. How? I don't know. They just said don't waste your time. Like, typically coaches they don't want to hear don't waste my time. They actually usually want their asses kissed a little bit. Like, oh, coach, I'm so happy to have an offer from USC in Georgia. Oh, like that's why these kids do this half the time. I got to make sure that the school knows I appreciate it. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, I just did that, and you guys, he's going to end up picking a fucking Adidas school. And you guys are going to play this video back on me as like a haunting reminder of me being wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen.
So, Ketch, back to the Griffin Atkinson thing before we leave that. If you're Texas, do you maybe play this where you don't push super hard? You live with the idea of Griffin picking one of these other schools. Let's say it's Ohio State. And then you wait and see with Atkinson. And then if you need to come back around on the end with Griffin, you do that.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Right? I mean,
I cannot stress it enough. Texas feels like the best decisions and the right decisions can't be made this summer.
Yeah.
That if they had done that, and I'll point back to the 2021 season, in season, Sarkisian was specifically asked about, hey man, you ain't got no offensive line commits, really. And considering how big of a need it is and how many you say you want to take, remember, that's a class where they took like 19.
It felt like it.
It did.
It felt like it. Was it that many? Was it
yes, if you don't include Lance St. Louis, the deep snapper, who technically was also listed as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I feel like Anwar asked the question that ultimately got the answer that is the reason why I remember this today. But it was a question he was getting asked a lot. Anwar asked it on this one particular day. And Sark let his nuts hang on the table a little bit. He did. He was like, I could have 5 commitments tomorrow if I wanted 5. He said that. No. I could have 5 commitments tomorrow if I wanted 5 commitments, but we're big game hunting. We are not giving up on going after the big games.
Was that the check back with me in December?
Yes.
Comment? Yeah.
Yes. Now, they get Banks. They get Cam Williams. They close on DJ Campbell. They close on Neto, right? They close with a flurry. And there are still Texas fans today who, look, I don't subscribe to a recruiting outcome comes with an asterisk. Yeah, but his mom wanted him to go. No. I don't care. I don't care. Where did he sign, right? So you'll get some people who are like, well, they only got Banks because Mario Cristobal left Oregon. I don't care. Nobody keeps score on these things. The only reason why Malik Jefferson went to Texas was because Kevin Sumlin, who may or may not have been sauced at the time, was I'm not going to tell you who my new DC is going to be.
How dare you?
And Malik Jefferson was like, you can't even give me a hint. And Kevin Sumlin allegedly was like, no, I'm not going to give you a hint. Who do you think you are? And then Malik Jefferson was like, well, I guess I'm a linebacker that's going to end up going to Texas because they are telling me, not rudely by chance, that like this is who my next defensive coordinator is going to be. Like sometimes acts of God occur. And that doesn't mean that the school that received the act of God doesn't get credit for the signing. Oh, Vince Young only went to Texas because Tim Brewster was recruited. I don't care. So.
Damn. Next, you're going to tell me Jerry Jones might have been drinking on the yacht before the draft.
Hey, man.
Silliness.
It's all possible.
Yeah.
We have to leave it in our brains.
That's right.
That it's all possible.
Anything is possible. By the way, Jose, great shout out. Any players signed with pony shoes. No more pony schools left out there either. Thank you, Jose.
I saw a kid sign a Puma deal. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Is he going to play soccer somewhere?
That made me smile. I did appreciate that. All right. We got one more name we're going to hit for commits that are happening this weekend. Before we do it, let's talk about one of Ketch's favorite places to be, and that's Hijack Poker. Hijackpoker.com. Get in on tournaments. Get in on those cash games. Get it on any device you want. And remember, you can cash out and deposit at any of the 6 Texas Card House locations. And there's all kinds of easy ways to deposit on your devices. So get it checked out. Shout out to Texas Card House. They sponsor the show each and every day. You see their logo up there, Texas Card House, upper right-hand corner, along with the Specs Rabbit. Ketch's room may or may not be on fire. Let's just double check. Ketch, we good? Tell me that's rogue smoke. Please. Tell me. That's rogue smoke.
I don't know what you're talking about, Chad.
You trying to slip in a little rogue smoke? Well, I should have. Hijack Poker. It's one of the greatest experiences of your life.
No, man, that was me going all in.
And
I went all in.
That was you pushing.
I pushed all my chips into the center of the table.
Pushing the chips, baby. Pushing the chips. The other name we were going to hit today, Catch, is J.J. Johnson, a big D tackle out of the state of Florida. He's going to decide tomorrow. We record the show on Friday, and he's deciding this Saturday. Texas, Georgia. Anybody else in the discussion for you here?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
And there's been all of these recruitments. It's strange. And I think that this might be the best example of guys do not overreact to any of these commitments when they go down. And I say that when we did the Richard Wesley deal, what did we openly talk about? Well, let's talk about what it would look like now for him to decommit again.
Right. Since he did jump in the pool with Dan Lanning.
Right. I mean, we didn't ignore that conversation.
Right.
And one of the things I talked about was like, and I think Xavier Griffin's an interesting one because he's another example of a guy that's committed previously. So his commitment, you probably would watch a little closer. I don't know that this kid's trying to be the guy that flips multiple times. I laid out all week long, multiple occasions why kids don't like to do that and why their dads really hate it. Moms too. Kinfolk hate the multiple commitments, decommits.
Yep.
But look, we know Texas has got 3 defensive tackles already committed. We know that they would probably like to top that size of a defensive tackle class, of which I had it up earlier. Let me look at it. They as the defensive tackle position as things stand right now, Texas has 10 on campus going into the year, Chad.
Okay.
They lose Cole Brevard and Travis Shaw. They're gone. The only other guys that are draft eligible are Hero Kanu and Lavon Johnson. 2 guys no one's talking about right now being early entries to the NFL draft. So
Watson will be back next year?
He's only a true sophomore.
Wow. Okay.
They got him for 2 years minimum.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that extra layer of that story. That's
remember big. One of the things that was a little different about what they did this year versus previous years is they brought in more transfers that are multi-year additions.
Right, that still had enough time. The receivers that way too, right?
Exactly. Emmett Mosley, true sophomore this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Jack Injuries, I don't think is a guy that's going to play at Texas multiple seasons, but he's not a grad transfer at the tight end position. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that does have 2 years of eligibility remaining, and, we'll see what that means. But they definitely brought in guys with optionality from an eligibility standpoint. But just to finish the point on the defensive tackle position, so that's 8. Plus the 3 that they've got committed, right? Look, we know that they'll lose some guys. A couple of those guys in that defensive tackle equation, they're not all going to come back. Something has to give from a number standpoint. But they're sitting at 11 right now going into next season, and nothing else changes.
Yeah, I know it's a position of rotation, but damn.
So I think what we'll see the rest of the way is from a numbers standpoint, I think you're really looking at the highest of quality possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they feel like those guys can be closed on right now. That it's still early. It's still June. There's still some shenanigans, I think, being played with regards to getting deals in by July 1st. And, can you get something done with a guy so that he doesn't take any more visits? There's all kinds of squirrely games that are either being played or they're not played.
Yeah. And do we really know that everybody understands the game fully for mid-July and mid-August and the middle of
October? Hey man, we can't go through this unless we buy a bag of magic beans for $10 million. I'd be like, okay, well, I don't know that that's not true.
Right. It's just going to be wild. Yeah. This guy's listed catch. I see him at number 4 D tackle in the country. So this is
he might be a guy that you would do that with.
Right. So you're saying he may be part of that late push discussion.
I think he fits the profile of a guy that they would want. I just would, again, go back to Texas doesn't feel like a guy like this is going to have his recruitment's not decided in June.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, for you, Catch, does J.J. Johnson have the feel of let's say he picks Georgia this weekend, would he have the same type of feel? Would it feel like a Justice Terry type of deal if it flipped back to Texas late? Is that one where we'd go, oh my God, Sark did it again? Is he that good?
No, he's not. He's rated. He's the number 4 defensive tackle in the country for Rivals, but he's currently rated 140 nationally.
Okay.
Gotcha. He's not that.
Okay. It'd be nice maybe, but it's not Justice Terry nice.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
and he's a fantastic prospect. I don't know. He's not on that level. They're not talking about giving this kid $2 or $3 million.
Gotcha.
I don't think.
Okay. All right. We've gone through 5 big names. Just to go over real quick, Malachi Lee, the offensive lineman from Hawaii, Chase Calicut, the North Shore guy we talked about, and Damari Simeon out of New Jersey. They're all going to decide today as we do this show on a Friday. J.J. Johnson is tomorrow. And then Xavier Griffin, the talented linebacker out of Georgia, he'll decide on Sunday. So those are the 5 big names that we're watching this weekend. Catch anything else that you wanted to hit on these guys, or anything that's kind of coming up? We're getting to we're transitioning from visit season into commit season.
I just think there's like a pile of decisions that are going to be made this week, next week, really going into the middle of July.
Yeah.
All that matters for me is that Texas is collecting super blue chip guys. And, depending on Diabell, Richard Wesley, depending on what you think of a few other guys, those 2 guys are pretty bona fide. I've got a guy, there are people that have Jermaine Bishop Jr. ranked that high, right? I mean, there's some quibbles, but you could make a case that Texas is already about halfway on the super blue chip front where they want to be at the end of the year. At a minimum, they want to have 6, 7. If you get 10, you're really talking about one of the best recruiting classes you probably ever had. So there's the minimum bar to this is something that we don't do to 2022 Texas A&M, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that looks like. Where it's, how many did you sign? 10. Oh, wow. Okay.
Right.
5 stars? Well, a couple of them were high 4 stars, but yeah, 10. Oh, wow. Okay. Your wallet really does read bad MF. If you can get to that level, that's that notable. But like Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas A&M, all these schools that want to be always at the top of the food chain, that's the level of super blue chips that you want to hit. Texas has them now spread out in a way that I almost don't care where they get them as long as they keep getting the same 6 to 10 every year. And I think 6 is a bad year. Well, Texas is about halfway to its bad year, and we can point to a bunch of guys that I think fall into the category of super blue chip level prospects. It's the biggest reason why Chase Calicut stings, because he'd be one of these guys that if I was like, hey, count the number of super blue chips Texas is going to end up with. I think 2 weeks ago I would have had him in, and I would say, okay, they're going to end up with 8 or 9. He would have been one of the ones. But the thing about Texas is that we know we're going to get to November, December, and they're going to be in with a couple of guys that are big timers that we just didn't think in July that they would be in on. And it's happened the last few years. I feel like you can set your watch by it. And again, it comes back to this point that I keep making, that is behind the scenes at Texas, they still think everything is really early. And if you were to approach them with your anxiety about, oh my God, they would literally laugh at you and go, have we not proven ourselves yet? Like, yeah. At what point will you start to listen to us that we know what we're doing? And when we tell you everybody can chill the hell out, they can literally chill the hell out.
All right. Before we get to buy or sell time, let me remind everybody, if you're looking for a place for a happy hour, go have a nice drink, chill out. How about the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room? Thursdays through Sundays, all these great cocktails. You could do a tasting if you like. They've got pineapple now, so they're making some of these great cocktails on the pineapple side of things too. I've got to get out there and try it. We're making our plans to get out there in August for me to do my recon work out there. Also, check out the Crimson Creek Smokehouse barbecue truck. It's right there on site. It's always a good time. Make sure you do it safely, responsibly. Have a great time at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Get on out there as soon as you can. All right, Catch, you ready to buy or sell?
Yeah.
First or second?
I'll go first.
All right.
Buy or sell number 1. As a Mavs fan, you missed the Mark Cuban era. I've never asked a Mavs fan this yet, so I'm just curious.
Buy. There are elements of the Mark Cuban era that I miss, and the Mark Cuban era did involve a title, so I got to miss it a little bit. Yeah, buy.
What is the thing? What does it feel different? Like, can you describe it?
He wouldn't have traded Luka.
Fair enough. Buy or sell number 2. It's a great answer. It's straight to the point.
Yeah.
He would not have traded Luka. Final
I
answer.
don't think. Remember how in love with Dirk he was and probably still is? Remember that? Remember that feeling?
He'd catch a bullet for Dirk.
It led to a title. There's no doubt he'd catch a bullet. No doubt. I could tell Mark Cuban today that a bullet will fly at a certain time tomorrow, and it could kill you, Mark, but minimum it's going to put you in the hospital for like a month. But they're going to try to take Dirk out.
He's there.
He'd take it. He would take it. He would tell me he would take it. He would blog about taking it. He would send out social media. He'd do a podcast about taking it, and then he'd take it.
Buy or sell number 2. Texas State to the Pac-12 does nothing for you.
I got to sell for a couple reasons. One, because I'm technically a Texas State parent now. That's where my kid's going to go. But also because of Sherry, who we've mentioned on the show. I do have the helmet in the background somewhere, Texas State. But Sherry's a Texas State grad, so I thought of her right away, Catch. She's really into this this current president they have, and she follows the program really closely. So I'm looking forward to talking to her about, oh, my God, you guys, every one of your conference road trips, you talk about going west. Jeez. So I am interested a little because I do have some Texas State connections. Texas State and Pac-12, that's never going to feel quite right, but I'm fascinated to watch it play out.
What is Texas State's colors? Is that burgundy?
I don't know. What do they call it? I'd have to double check on. It's kind of it's like a burgundy and gold, maroon and gold, I think is the best way to describe it.
We need to start a Texas State fan, like Orange Bloods. We call it like Maroon fans or something. I don't know. But like Sherry needs to be the publisher of a Texas State site. They're going to the Pac-12. It's time.
Pac-12. How about that? Texas State and Oregon State, conference rivals. Who'd have thought?
Some of that. Just where Oregon State wanted to be 5 years ago.
Hey, come on, Catch. You know that's a good one waiting to happen. Oregon State at Texas State. The Beavers go to San Marcos. Come on.
Have you ever seen the Hitler videos that they edit?
Oh yeah.
You could do one where it's the Oregon State's like athletic director is Hitler, and it's like, well, at least we're going to be in a conference with Texas Tech, and like you see all the guys like look at each other nervously, and they're like, who's going to tell him it's not Texas Tech?
It's Texas State. You're right. Exactly. By the way, that one on the Luka trade was one of my favorites. Sadly, I've had teams that ended up in Hitler videos a lot over the last few years between the Mavs, the Aggies, and the Cowboys. Think about how many I've had to watch these last few years, damn it. I've watched Hitler get pissed about everything.
All right, buy or sell number 4. The Bears season 4 has just begun, and you are in from the start.
In from the start. Define in from the start. What do you mean by that?
You're gonna watch it.
Oh, okay. No, that's absolutely a buy. Yeah, it's a show I got into a little late as far as when it started. But yes, I'm highly interested. Season 3 slacked a little for me from where they were. I thought it pulled back a little, but I trust them enough that I think they'll get it back in high gear for season 4. So I'm in.
No, season 2 is one of the best series of television maybe ever made.
Season 2 is amazing. Season 2 is out of control good. 3 was not as good, but it was.
But probably not as good because season 2 is like legitimately 4 of those like 8 episodes were among the 4 best episodes of television I've ever seen.
Yes, correct. So I'm willing to trust in season 4. I can't wait.
Hashtag Team Forks. Hashtag girl dads listening to Taylor Swift.
Forks is one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen.
All right, and finally, buy or sell number 5. It's a prime on prime hotter than.
Okay.
It's a bit of an oddball one. Okay.
All right. I'm made for that.
I don't know that I know the answer to this, but I think I do.
Okay.
Buy or sell number 5, prime on prime. Lisa Kudrow, hotter than Jamie Lee Curtis.
Wow, this is interesting. I was watching Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, in the Bear that you just mentioned. I just watched a couple episodes of Friends, so I saw some really beautiful Lisa Kudrow stuff.
Prime on prime. You have to really just like figure out when that was for each of these women, and then
Yeah. Wow. And it's a prime on prime, hotter than Lisa Kudrow, hotter than Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm going to sell and go Jamie Lee Curtis. And I'm going to go True Lies, Jamie Lee Curtis, and everybody knows the scene over anything you'd give me with Lisa Kudrow.
I think that is the correct answer.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go Jamie Lee Curtis. Lisa Kudrow, man, as far as consistency goes among the three Friends actresses, I'm not sure if Lisa Kudrow's not the right answer in terms of consistency. Just be consistently pretty through the whole run. I think it's Lisa. But in terms of that hotter than, I can't ignore that scene. I just can't do it. Can't ignore it. Definitely Jamie Lee. Uh-oh, you're caught in thought now. Before we move on, I feel like we need to finish whatever you're thinking about. What's in your mind?
I just think you just offered up the hottest take of any show I've ever been involved in. That's
okay.
Just so that I'm clear,
you
are a legend. Consistency-wise, show in, show out. Lisa Kudrow is hotter than Jennifer Aniston.
I mean, that ultimately is the battle. It's clearly true of Courtney Cox because Courtney got crazy with the plastic surgery. We would have to have episode by episode. I'm saying the argument can be made. Would I make it? No. I'm an Aniston man.
Argument. I can't let these 3% of the public would say it. I
am an Aniston man in that discussion. Ultimately, I'm just saying.
I've never heard anybody once ever say. I've heard a million people say Lisa Kudrow underrated Fox.
Right.
I've never heard anybody say she was the real hottie on the show.
Right. And to be fair, what I said was stem to stern, consistently pretty. That's what I said.
Day in, day out.
I didn't say hotter than. I said day in, day out, pretty. I can make an argument that it's Kudrow. Who's the hottest? Stem to stern, Aniston. Who's the most disappointing?
Move along. I'm not going to agree with you on this. I think you're changing your position now. Let's just play buy or sell.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely.
You've dug your grave. Everybody's going to remember this. Like when you said you were going to have sex with Brad Pitt.
I love what you think they'll remember. All right. Here we go, Catch. Let's start with some recruiting. Buy or sell number one. By the night of July 4th, Texas's 26 class will be ranked in the top 10 by Rivals. Buy or sell. Right now, they're 13 or 14.
Yeah, buy.
Yep. Okay. Just a few spots to make up. All right. I've not gotten your reaction to this, so here's how I did it. Buy or sell number two. A&M gets Zayden Krempin to commit. The Aggies class goes up to number 2 in Rivals. You think they'll finish in the top 5?
Buy. I think the entire top 5 this year in recruiting might be of the teams might all be SEC teams because I think we're going to see them all take larger size classes than the Big Ten teams who I think, everybody's working under the new scholarship and you will.
You think Ohio State's going to slip out of that 5 range?
Yeah, I think they'll, but I think that we'll look at 1 through 5 and then what happens maybe 6, 7, 8. We might look at teams 5 through 10 this year have a bigger per capita POW per recruit, but maybe don't have the volume that will, because one of the things that hurts Texas right now is like Rivals uses an algorithm that only counts the top 20 kids in a recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the bottom of their recruiting class right now with 15 kids, they've got 3 specialists who are, that are 20% of the class right now. So
right.
Their average per star recruit is a little bit impacted by that a lot. If you were to look at the team rankings right now, you'd go, oh, well, any team that recruits at a real high level that doesn't have any specialists in it just aren't getting punished the same way. A&M's right now per recruit is 3.81. Texas is 3.27. But that is really entirely being decided by the fact that they've had their numbers dragged down. Whereas Texas A&M's at 21 commits. I think they've got a specialist in that class, but he wouldn't count towards their numbers.
Interesting. Okay. We'll keep our eyes on that. Also, this one, Catch, about a former Longhorn. Buy or sell number 3, Justin Tucker will finish the 25 season on an NFL roster after the 10-game suspension. Buy or sell?
Sell. Justin Tucker's done playing in the NFL.
Boy, that's wild if you're right. That is so wild if you're right. He had started to slip before all this stuff came out, but I'm interested.
And I think that he wasn't really a plus kicker last year.
Right. He wasn't.
They stopped trusting him. And
yeah,
I don't know that you're going to bring in a kicker that the last coach couldn't trust that comes with that. Now, look.
Plus it's not a position that's going to get hurt statistically either. That's the other thing, right? If you're a corner, if you're in any other position, but what guarantee would you have that somebody needs a kicker in week 11?
I mean, maybe I'm wrong because of what you just outlined, but Chad, let's knock these out because I got a 1:30 call I have to sit in on.
1:30 call. All right, Catch. Give me your soccer fan knowledge here. Worldwide, you think soccer fans treat women's soccer like tennis fans treat women's tennis? Buy or sell?
No, they treat it worse.
They treat it worse. Interesting. Okay. And finally, Catch, I am going to see Beyonce this weekend.
Nice.
Double buy or sell. Buy or sell, you're going to go to?
Sell.
Buy or sell?
I'm going to my wife's class reunion this weekend.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Have fun there. Buy or sell, the one song you'd look forward to hearing the most is Texas Hold'em.
Sell.
What's your Beyonce jam you want to hear live?
That's a great question that I've never actually considered.
You want to hear Crazy in Love. You want to hear Dangerously in Love. You want to hear Irreplaceable. You want to hear Ya off the new album.
I don't know that I have Crazy in Love's tough to beat.
Yeah. That's one of the ones that first popped into my head.
It feels like a song that kind of defines her mega stardom
that feels like a song that the place is going to come undone in just a special way when it hits. That one I'm looking forward to.
I'm a big fan of Drunken Love.
Drunken Love is good. When she does In Love, it's just really trust it. When she's in love in some way, yeah, that's a good one.
I'm a big fan of Me, Myself, and I.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
And honestly, the song that I could see really bringing the place down, Formation in concert would be pretty dope.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. All right. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. We appreciate you. Next week, I am not going to be here. Catch will be here reviewing everything that happens in recruiting, all the commits, what does happen, what doesn't happen. 4th of July is next week.
We're going wild out here on these streets.
4th of July, everybody's committing. John Turntine and all kinds of commits on the 4th of July. Catch, are you doing special 4th of July videos on the 4th in the middle of a cookout?
Man, I don't know. It's fucking June 27th. I have not thought about that at all.
Fair enough. Catch has got a 1:30 thing. I need to shut up. Y'all, thank you.
I'd forgotten. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you for supporting us. Y'all have a great weekend, and we appreciate you. We are Orange